Gary, how you doing? Kathleen, hello. Lisa, hello. Lisa and Lisa. Mike, how you doing? I'm hanging in there, Mike. I'll give it a few more seconds here, guys. Ruth isn't in the hospital. Ruth died when when Fox announced that she died months ago. Yeah, they didn't want um, they didn't want to give uh, President Trump another pick. So what they were going to do is they're holding her back because supposedly the it's not really a law, but James, how you doing? Kevin, how's it going? Um, but typically, they will not appoint a Supreme Court justice if it's within a year of the election, which we obviously are now within a year. So now they're going to let her die, basically. But she was dead long ago. It's irrelevant. Doesn't make any difference. POTUS is still going to get the uh, to name the next Supreme Court justice. He might even do it before the election, just because he can, and because when it comes out that um, what's happened here, nobody's going to challenge him. Because put it this way, anybody who would challenge him is going to be in prison or executed. So we'll see how it plays out, but it's really a non-issue for us. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Swampwatch 11/23/19. Let's see. Yeah, Biden is this is well, this is one of the deep state's worst nightmares. What's going on right now with the Ukraine, and I I want to kind of use this kind of to illustrate um, God's hand in this, because you're seeing this stuff now. So they the deep state developed the internet. The deep state developed uh, Facebook. I believe Twitter also. All of these systems were designed to track and control us. And isn't it funny that these systems are turned around to defeat them, just like they tried to use the Ukraine to take down President Trump, and now it's coming back around, and it's not really the trigger, but it could be the trigger as far as the general public is concerned. of what gets this ball rolling. We've known this ball, the draining of the swamp, has been rolling for a long time now. It's just been, when is it going to be official? When are they going to take down the first big name? Somebody like Clapper or Brennan, or Comey or Lynch or Holder. All of them are candidates. All of them have multiple treason charges coming. Anyway, here we go. The Ukraine. It's they got HRC. They've got Biden, the Kerry, Pelosi, Schiff are all going to be caught up in that Ukrainian web. They got child trafficking and money laundering for sure. And the Ukrainians are not happy. The Ukrainians are on exactly the same page as President Trump. There's no more protection. Not that there aren't elements in our country that would like to protect the deep state and the Clintons and Obama, but they've lost their power. They want to, but there's nothing they can do about it. They've taken all the shots they could. What they needed was to get, and what this whole thing has been about the last few months, is them ginning up support with the American people, because they started to see, I think, months ago, that this wasn't going to go well for them. That they were headed down a one-way dead-end street. And their only chance was to get a civil war started. And to get a civil war started, they had to get this going early and hard, because they know if it gets towards the end to where the pedophilia is going to be revealed and exposed, they're done. There's no way they're going to get any support after that is exposed. And we're almost, I think, to that point, because they were stealing a lot of kids out of the Ukraine. That's all going to come out. And I think the Clinton Foundation and Hillary Clinton, they supposedly they have surveillance on all these crimes. Now that's just the Ukraine. That's not counting what we've got. James is asking about Putin. Putin is definitely, listen, I've been saying this for a year and a half or 2 years at least. Why do you think the deep state is so fearful of President Trump and Putin getting together? Because they know. Listen, Putin already kicked Rothschilds out of Russia. They detest the globalist agenda. So, guarantee you, Putin and Trump are 100% on the same page. I believe, I'm 95% sure China is on the same page. So when these people are talking about China invading or Russia invading or the UN invading, it's not going to happen. They all understand. The one thing I can tell you for sure, all three of those countries, China, Russia, and America, understand that the globalists are trying desperately to start a world war. Their problem is, if China, Russia, and America understand what's going on and they're not ever going to fire on each other, how do you start a world war? They're screwed. There's nothing they can do because there's not a thing. They could set a nuclear bomb off anywhere in the world. It's not going to start a nuclear war because these people understand where it's coming from. They can go through all of the machinations, all the dirty tricks they want, all of the scam they want. Nobody's buying it anymore. It's just like their false flags. Their game is done. They thought their game was going to get them through this, get them to the other side, get us beaten down and conquered, and run their Agenda 21 through, murdering 7 billion people over the next 80 years. That's not happening. They're done. And everything that the deep state does to fight President Trump, military intelligence, NSA, they it's like they can't do anything right. Everything they do blows up in their face. Name something in the last 2 years that's worked for them. Even when something comes up where you might think, oh, boy, maybe President Trump made a mistake here. Turns out, 2 weeks later, exactly the right move to make. Or we see that, the deep state's made a move. And, oh, wow, it looks like it doesn't look good. And 2 weeks later, it blows up. It boomerangs back on them. All of this. Name something. You can't. You can't name any success they've had. Any real success that they've had. Everything they've tried has blown up on them. It's been a constant downhill. And you have to remember, well, most people don't understand how lopsided this battle was going in. Like in 2015, 2014, when you looked at this big picture, it was desperate. They had infiltrated the government. It was pretty clear by 2014, 2015 that Obama had been, piling his crew in there, the Muslim Brotherhood. Anybody that couldn't see that, what they were doing with the schools. You can't pray in a school, but you can do a field trip to a mosque. Now you tell me how that fits in with our Constitution. The Sharia law, as you saw today, President Trump axed a federal judge who was trying to allow Sharia law to be implemented in the United States. I can tell you right now, anywhere where you've seen some inroads by Islam and Sharia law, don't worry about it. They've let this go on because they were picking their battles. They were getting things ready for the big takedown, and they were letting these rats scurry around, think like they were getting something done. The First Amendment, Sharia law, the Second Amendment, all of those attacks are done by the end of President Trump's second term. Mark my words. The globalist agenda is done by President Trump's second term. They are going to be, all of the infiltrators brought in for the last several administrations are going to be ferreted out and dealt with. The ones that can be prosecuted, they will be prosecuted. The ones that can't, they'll fire. They're not going to be here. So don't worry about the hype and the fear porn. Anybody who's talking about, the UN invading or China invading or Russia, it's all fear porn. we have virtual total control. They might still have a couple of things they can do. We've talked about, possibly using the MS-13, possibly using Muslim sleeper cells. There was over, I think, 100 bases, training bases, that the FBI knew about it. They knew about it. Well, we know now that they were, and it's going to come out. And again, we're not, I don't want to bash the good people in law enforcement, but our law enforcement, from top to bottom, has been infiltrated. When I say top to bottom, I mean local, county, state, and federal. Especially the FBI and the CIA. There's a lot of rats. Way too many. Now, there's a lot of good guys there too. But my gut feeling is that we're going to go back to what the founders intended. Our founders intended minimal federal government. They wanted the states to take care of their own business. In that case, we don't need an FBI. We don't need them. And you're going to hear people, when this stuff starts to come up, you're going to hear people whining and crying, oh my God, the crime's going to go rampant. We need these guys. CIA, same thing. We have military intelligence. We have NSA. We don't need the CIA. They got to go. I think the FBI is going too. We don't need them. Less law enforcement is best. Let's take care of ourselves. Let's put a gun in every house. Then we won't need law enforcement. They've tried to make us dependent on them. They don't want us independent. They don't want us thinking for ourselves. They don't want us taking care of ourselves. They want us to believe that we need more government. We don't. We need less government. More government is what's got us to this point where we are virtually the most wealthy country in the history of the world is on the verge of financial collapse because what these people have done to us. Federal Reserve, IRS, gotta go. Income tax is illegal. It's going. Department of Education, virtually most federal agencies need to go. We need to handle stuff locally. Because what happens is, just think about, I don't know, how many, it's over 1 million, isn't it? The number of federal employees. Listen, when we get this mess cleaned up, we're not going to pay any taxes. There won't be any personal income taxes. We should all have health care. The whole, well, I think virtually every facet of our government and country are going to be reworked because they're so corrupted. We almost have to scrap all the systems and start over. Just like I've been talking about, the Department of Education and, what's happened with our kids and how they've been brainwashed by the propaganda spewed by the huge majority of liberal educators in our country. Time to go. No more unions. No more teachers. But I think by the time we get to the end of President Trump's presidency, we're going to have a uniform, nationwide, online educational system from kindergarten through college. No more teachers. No more buildings to maintain. No more school taxes. Just think about that. It makes sense. It's ignorant in today's world to be building thousands of schools with a shifting population that's got thousands of different curriculum and direction, and look at what it's got us. It's critical that we flip this switch and from like as soon as we can get on a program where our kids are going to get the education that they deserve. The education that I got in parochial school 50 years ago, almost 60 years ago, where you learn something useful. You developed your critical thinking skills. You were taught how to learn, and just the basics, the Constitution, civics, who we are, how we got here. It's all positive. We're at a point where, because things are going to start to get really convoluted here. There's going to be a lot going on and a lot of finger pointing and a lot of indictments, and we got to get above all that noise. We got to be 5,000 feet above that, watching the battlefield. And the world is a battlefield right now. It's all good. It's all headed exactly where we need it to. Like I keep saying over and over and over again, I couldn't write a better script, and I can't. I mean, it's a miracle if we get through this, and millions of people around the world. Well, let's just talk about America. I believe that we're going to get through this cleaner than any other country, relatively unscathed. I honestly believe that. I think there's countries around the world where it's going to be brutal, where they're going to lose tens of thousands, in some cases maybe millions. You're talking about China, India. Things start going south in countries like that, and they can't, they don't have the resources that we do to deal with these things. So, they really got the double-edged sword, because not only do they not have the resources, they don't have more importantly, they don't have the leadership. And I think President Trump, like he has to this point, I think he's going to get us through this thing pretty clean. Not that there won't be civil unrest, some, but I honestly think if they do this right, in the way they roll this thing out, we're going to get through this thing pretty clean. Because you can see, it's like they've got almost a perfect pace going. They're letting a little bit out, and it's actually coming a lot faster than I thought it would. It's being well received, which makes it easier to push more out. It's almost like the people are starting to really eat this stuff up, which is what we need. We need people to be clamoring for more information, more facts. That's exactly what's happening. So far, so good, guys. I mean, I can't tell you, going through this for 5 years and to see where we are now, it's amazing to see this and the way it's all working. Yeah, holiday season's in jeopardy as consumers rein in spending. This is coming the week before Thanksgiving, guys. Um, it's not good when they're talking like this. Right before what's supposed to be, you know, the the biggest um, selling season we've got all year. And the thing is, it almost makes you think that um, there's been a shift here because usually, even when it looks bad, the mainstream media is pumping it up. Oh yeah, things are great. People are excited about shopping. Blah 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 blah. This makes it look like they're trying to make people second guess spending, right? Well, wait a minute. All these people, why are all these people holding back and make them look harder? Because maybe they are setting up this economy to come down. Like I said, uh, the economy will not get to the 2020 election, one way or another. There's no way in hell it gets to 2020, to the election a year from now. Um, and most people are thinking it's coming down before the end of the year. So, and there's a lot of big stuff coming up, guys, with what's going on with the repo rate, with the Fed. You know, the banks are in a liquidity crisis. That's what's going on right now. All the talk you hear about the Fed and the repo programs, it's because the banks won't lend to each other anymore. It's the same exact situation that we had right before the 07-08 crash, only it's worse right now than it was then. We've already bailed the banks out, and hardly anybody knows about this. We've already put in more than half of what they used last time to bail them out, and there's not a peep about it in the mainstream media. It's ready to go south, guys. It's just tick-tock. Any day. Yeah, this whole Ukrainian deal is blowing up. Uh, an attorney who was part of the Mueller investigation on the Clinton emails is also the guy that was falsifying the FISA warrants, like changing 302s and the evidence. Um, there's reports that supposedly Horowitz is saying that, well, this didn't really affect the outcome. That's 100%. And this is actually coming out from the Washington Post. So we got to take it with a grain of salt because they've lied about virtually everything in the last 3 years. So it's not credible. And what makes me think that it's way, way worse than they want to let on is that every single person that's looked at this thing so far has said it's going to be devastating for the Democratic Party. So the Washington Post is sugarcoating the garbage they're selling because it doesn't look like that's the way it's going to go down. Okay, let me just make sure I got everything I wanted to hit today. Okay, let's see what we got. Yeah, the bad guys are the Democrats. That's what I meant. What did I say? Republicans? You guys know what I mean. Nothing's changed. The liberals are still the bad guys. The deep state, the swamp, globalist. Oh. Wow, got a lot of questions. That which will you use for evil will be used for good, declares the Lord. From Kathleen. They also say that the good will get better and the bad will get worse we're seeing that too. Candace, how you doing? Yeah, the Smollett was there was two reasons behind Smollett. One of them was they really don't want to get lynched, so they were using this to, you know, scare people away from lynching them when this all comes out. And the other thing was obviously, they do want to start a race war. It's not going to happen, but they would give anything for it to happen. The jig is up. Yep. Thank God for President Trump. And there's a lot of patriots behind this, guys. Uh, um, Admiral Rogers in the NSA and military intelligence. There's a lot of guys who risk their lives and careers moving this white hat group forward. Because if it wasn't for them, uh, it would have been really hard for. Well, I don't. There's no way that President Trump could have done this all by himself. It's just a job too big. There are too many rats there. He would have been overwhelmed. So that he had the NSA and military intelligence and the Marines to basically fall back on to protect him and help him ferret all these rats out. Um, Amazing how this all came together. I knew that things were bad here. For years I've known it. I had no idea about how evil it really is. I knew it was evil, but had no clue to the depths. And then the scope of it is just unbelievable. How many people are involved. That's the scary part. Yeah, now listen, don't worry about the Muslim issue. The Muslim issue is going to take care of itself. Uh, all of the radicals are going to be sent home. When the money's cut off, when all their freebies are cut off, they're going to go home crying. When Sharia law is stamped out, anybody who doesn't swear an allegiance to our country and constitution needs to be run out of the country. End of story. And that's what's going to happen. Exactly what's going to happen. If you don't swear allegiance to America and our Constitution, get out. It's that simple. Well, you got to remember, guys, everybody, why isn't something being done? There is a ton being done behind the scenes. What you have to understand is, that's what I'm trying to tell you with the scope of this thing. It's overwhelming the mass of this evil that's already infiltrated in the government. You hear about all these resistors. How are these people still in the White House? It's because it was so expansive. It's all coming down, guys. We're at the time now. Well, how are they going to clean up the CIA? What I do? Shut it down. Shut it down. We don't need them. We have military intelligence. We have the NSA. Get rid of the CIA. We're headed to a new once we get this evil removed, we're going to be able to work differently with countries around the world. We hadn't been able to do that because no countries would trust us because of the CIA, and I don't blame a one of them for not trusting us. Because these were, well, they ran breeding farms for children. They sold the homely ones for body parts, and they sold the cute ones to the child sex trade. So what does that tell you about the evil in the CIA? They don't deserve to be here. We don't need them. They're the most hated organization around the world for a good reason. Time for them to go. It's better to wipe it clean. It's just like the teachers. Wipe them out. Make it a clean slate. Let's start over and do it right. In today's world, with today's technology, it makes absolutely no sense to build thousands of school buildings around the world. Around the country. Absolutely no sense. Only if you want those teachers on the payroll so that they'll vote for you every 4 years. That's the only reason. That's the only reason most of these government agencies were started. So they could give their buddies, their cronies, jobs. And their friends of friends jobs in the federal government. Yeah, sure, you're there for life. You get a pension, you get a retirement. Oh, it's great. They bled us dry with this crap. It's time to get smarter than that. I use the example of Vallejo, where I live. It's been maybe 10 years ago. The city went bankrupt. It was the first larger city to go bankrupt, I think, in the country. Everybody was crying, oh my God, the crime's going to go rampant. They had to make huge cutbacks in the fire and police departments. Massive. I'm talking 40%. Everybody's, oh my God, crime's going to go through the roof. Nothing changed. Everything was fine. Didn't even notice it. It's all about scaring us into taking their solutions. I'm telling you, once this evil is removed, the manipulation, the corruption, every world war, every terrorist attack in the last 150 years has been orchestrated by the globalist agenda. Needs to go. These people need to go. And once that evil is removed, we're living in a totally different world, guys. The world that God wanted. In the country that our founders intended for us to have. Because we don't have it now. If you think we're free, you don't know what freedom is. All of this crap that they've laid down on us, trying to think they're doing it for our better good, like they can think for us. Listen, if I want to ride a motorcycle without a helmet, it's supposed to be a free country. If I crack my head and get killed, it's on me. That's what I wanted to do with my life. I don't need somebody else telling me. Same thing with smoking. Same thing with texting cars. Everybody's going to get, oh my God, people die. People die every day. Don't put that crap on my freedom because you can't control yourself. You get in a wreck when you're texting, you pay the consequences for that. We don't need the government telling us how to live our lives. So that's the other thing about what's happening. And that's what happened. They got us by putting fear in us. And then, oh, we're doing this for your own good. That's not how it's supposed to be. We need to go back to a libertarian philosophy, which is basically minimal government and maximum freedom. All this other crap needs to go. And you see where they're going with it. Now they want, they don't want us talking because of the impact we're having on their agenda. So they want to change your constitution so it fits their needs. Not going to happen. They're going down. hard and soon. Yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm my listen, guys. As far as I'm concerned now, it can happen any day, and God's going to decide. So I'm ready. Whenever God's ready, I'm ready. Richard in Taos. How's it going, Richard? Chad, how you doing? I'm in Vallejo. Cincinnati, Waco, Texas, Bartlett, Tennessee, Taos, Spokane Valley, Washington, Sweetwater, Tennessee, Lake Elizabeth, California, Buffalo, New York, Roxbury, New Jersey, and Lisa's parents are in Athens. Is that Georgia? Uh, Chattanooga, Tennessee. And the other thing, guys, we have probably there's 40 countries in the Watchmen membership now, all over. I mean, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Mexico, Chile, Argentina, Brazil, Belgium, Germany, France, the Philippines. I Yeah, it's amazing to me. Michigan, yeah, our reach is expanding. Yeah, James is talking about what we've been talking about too. It's they I do not see any big, nuclear events, even bio weapon events at this point. I think that they've neutralized all of the big ones, but they still have, like I said, the the gangs, MS-13, um, and the possible Muslim sleeper cells. So if you're in public, you know, situational awareness. Be looking. Don't and I know how easy this is. You get wrapped up in your day and you're busy and you're thinking about 100 things. And a lot of times you'll walk into a situation that if you had your head up, you'd avoid it, right? Keep your head up. Be aware when you're out in public. Be watching for these things. If you're paying attention, you got a lot better chance of avoiding these things. There's almost always something you could catch if you were paying attention that would get you in a better spot, better position, um, better chance to defend yourself, the whole 9 yards. So, I mean, you have to remember, guys, when these people pick these events, they pick them for a reason. That there's a lot of people around, a lot of targets, and mostly they're going to be defenseless. We have to change the game a little bit so that when they do things like this, it's kind of like what happened in Texas, right? The two guys rolled up, and I think they had an AK, and a guy with a handgun took them both out. Those are the results that we need. Listen, this isn't Iraq. This isn't Afghanistan. We shoot back here. And the more of us with guns on the streets, the safer the streets are going to be. So if you can conceal carry, conceal carry. If you can keep one in your car, keep one in your car. Um, it makes sense, guys, especially with what's going on right now. Oh, if you're talking about somebody's talking about the new presidential candidate, I think from Massachusetts, the governor there. Yeah, this clown. He 2 days ago he was holding a press conference, and they canceled it because two people showed up. That's how big of a threat he is, and he was endorsed by Obama. Listen, guys, 90% of the vote in 2020. Write it down. President Trump is going to get 90% of the vote in 2020. What's going to happen when the pedophilia is exposed? What's going to happen when the swamp drained? Who in the hell is going to vote for a Democrat? The world is going to unite behind President Trump. Well, Dorothy, it's the whole Muslim population isn't, yeah, in general, they're increasing at 10 times any other culture, the rate. Um, but they're not all living in America. And the aid that we've had out to the Muslim world the last 10 years of Obama and even Bush before, because they were all on the same team, all that stuff's going. Yeah, I just posted Serial Brain 2, guys. I think it's a good one. Check it out. Yeah, do not get a flu shot. There isn't a Watchman member out there that should be getting a flu shot. It You got to be crazy. Listen, I'm 64 years old. I've had the flu before. What's the big deal? It's a freaking flu. No, but I'm going to give you something that's going to give you cancer, and you might have a bad reaction to it. It might kill you. It's just ridiculous, guys. I don't know how popular I am, Gary, but I'm here. God never promised me I was going to win any popularity contest. Um, okay, guys. Well, Dorothy's asking about when does the government give anything for free? Um, it's not. I think what's coming, um, and there's a lot of ways this can go down. It doesn't. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be that the government's providing healthcare insurance. Probably better that it's not. But here's what's going to happen. Okay, so the Federal Reserve was created in 1913, right? In 1913, the US dollar was worth 100 cents. Today, in 2019, the US dollar is worth about 6 cents. So in 106 years, thanks to the Federal Reserve and the IRS, we've lost 94% of the value of the US dollar. I've told you guys, my dad in the early 60s was making like $6,000 or $8,000 a year. Our house payment was $75 a month, taxes and insurance included. Well, hell, percentage wise, he had a lot more disposable income than I ever did making 150. Let that sink in. Uh, 60 years ago, a man making $8,000 a year had more disposable income than someone making 150 in 2018. It Think about that. When we get this garbage cleaned out, we're going to go back to that dollar being worth 100 cents. That changes everything. That means wives will not have to work. That means everyone will have health insurance. That's going to be a lot cheaper. It's all how they set this thing up. And I can't think of a better person in the world, in history, to make it happen the right way other than President Trump. I keep telling you guys, where this is headed is heaven on earth, man's greatest age. This is going to be the greatest transfer of wealth in human history. Don't miss the boat. God is giving us a gift here with what's happening. Listen, 84 million Litecoin were sold, I think, yesterday or the day before. In one day. There's only 84 million in the world. You know why the price is only $47? Because it's still being manipulated through the exchanges. That's all ending. What do you think is going to happen? To me, I couldn't believe it. I was ecstatic when I heard we had that kind of volume. Because what that means for the price when this thing gets cleaned up, where's the price going to end up? It's crazy numbers. Crazy numbers, guys. Okay, I got company, so I'm going to wrap it up for tonight, guys. Remember, fear not. God and President Trump are still 1,000% in control. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5. God bless.